Trisha Malowney.
I'm the second of 10 children born in a working class family, and I think the real influence for me is that I wasn't treated any different to any other member of the family. I didn't know I had a disability. I wore calipers all my life until I was 16. And I've asked Mum about it. How come I wasn't institutionalised? And other people who just had polio were sent to special schools. And Mum said to me, I didn't know what I was doing. This is my daughter and she's the same as everybody else in our family. I had the same expectations that the other members of my family had. I think it was when I got severely ill. I was working for police and I had to give up work despite the best efforts of me and Victoria Police to keep me at work. And after I'd been retired for a couple of years, I realised that other people weren't as empowered as I was, that other people with disabilities actually were being inhibited by systems, but also by attitudes and access to mainstream services and the services that I took for granted. And I think that was the tipping point for me. When I first started doing this work, I was on the statewide steering committee to reduce family violence. And we got on that because we lobbied for it. And we had to go and say to people, we're not on this committee, how come? How come our voice isn't at the table? So we've got everybody else, we've got the cold communities, we've got Indigenous women, we've got rural, but women with disabilities are absent. So once we got around that table, it was really quite influential. When women go to report crime to police, they can't do it because, well, while I was in police, I made sure we got wheelchair access. But the access isn't about wheelchairs, the access is about attitudes. So women with disabilities aren't believed. If a woman has a partner who doesn't have a disability, society thinks, well, there's a pretty good bloke. He's staying with that woman and she's got a disability. What's she got to complain about? And it's really not a recognition of those other forms of violence. One of the biggest barriers we have is that nobody collects the data. So it's on the form that everybody collects for their common risk assessment framework, but nobody uses it. Nobody does anything with it. So it's very hard then to get any funding to reduce violence against women with disabilities if there's no data collected that says women with disabilities are more likely to experience violence than any other group. Anecdotally, we have a lot. So our watch is collecting that data and publishing it so we know, and I've been pushing for that for a while. And one of the things that we've had in the past is when there's been research undertaken, women with disabilities haven't been included in the research. So Women with Disabilities Victoria has actually had to seek philanthropic funding to be included within the mainstream research. And it's almost like, oh, that wouldn't happen to them, so we don't need to research it. Well, yes, it does. And it happens more often than you would think. Sometimes people forget that I also have a disability that's quite debilitating. If I overload myself, I can't work. So I can't do it all, but I can influence. I can influence change. I'm hoping that the NDIS will free women up to have more knowledge about their rights. So we've got organisations like Valid and Reinforce who are actually empowering women to know their rights better. And I think that the mainstream police, courts, justice, health need to absolutely step up and say, if we're funded to provide services to women, that means all women, not just the easy ones.
Trisha Malowney is a passionate disability rights activist who uses her disability to advocate for better access and a change of attitudes towards people with disabilities. She's worked on campaigns to stop domestic violence against women with disabilities and has played crucial roles on the boards of Victorian Disability Advisory Council, Women with Disabilities Victoria and Scope Victoria, just to name a few. Trisha was inducted onto the 2013 Victorian Honour Roll of Women for her work in advocating for the rights of women with disabilities. Trisha Malowney is proud to be an Australian with a disability. Part of the Dangerous Deeds Project. Thank you, Trisha Malowney, Jacqui Ward. Editor, Shushu Zeng. Project Partners, Diversity and Disability, Start Community Art, Saru Self-Advocacy Resource Unit.